Huy, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
So you're more than welcome. So this is the first time we've met each other. Huy,
Yep.
and your family name is Nguyen. That's Vietnamese name, isn't it?
Yep, one of the most popular Vietnamese last names.
Isn't it the most popular?
I have no idea. Like, it's funny. I asked my dad. I'm like, why did you name me Huy? And then he's like, it's a very unique name. I'm like, but if you go to Vietnam, every second person is named Huy, followed by Nguyen. It's like,
yeah, Nguyen is number one, isn't it? After Hoang or before Hoang? I think.
Yeah.
So what is it? You come from Vietnam? You're born here?
No, I was born here. My dad came from Vietnam when he was 17, I think.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yes, and then went straight to high school.
Yeah.
And after that, he just started working because he was the oldest son.
Yes.
And my grandpa and grandma were kind of struggling with money, obviously, because my grandpa came over here first, and then he just basically pulled everyone over after during the Civil War, was it?
During the war, yeah.
During the war, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when he brought his whole family over here, obviously my dad went to school for a bit and then stopped school to start working.
So he was here when he was 17 in 1975. So that's when the war broke out. Yeah?
Yep.
And so he left school straight away?
School.
Right.
Left school. He said he left school because he had to work, but I don't know, maybe he left school because he doesn't like school.
Okay.
But
that's very weird for Vietnamese not to be able to go to school or not forced to go to school.
Yeah, well, I think my uncles were studying at the time and he wanted them to have the best opportunity. So he just started working from from day one. Yeah.
So how old are you, Huy?
I'm 26.
Okay, and you're the only child in the family?
I've got an older sister who's 28 and I have 2 younger brothers.
Right.
My dad remarried, so they're kind of like my half brothers, if anything. Yeah. So.
Okay. So you're saying your dad's remarried? What, they divorced?
Yeah.
Okay.
My dad.
That's also something. I mean, your dad's broken every Vietnamese rule.
Basically, yeah, pretty much, man. Yeah.
Oh, that's very good. So what about you? You went to uni.
I did go to uni. I finished high school and basically told myself during high school that I want to go to uni. Make my parents happy, make my grandparents happy as well.
Yeah, I know how it feels.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, like, every time my family would come over, my uncles would always ask me, what do you want to do after you finish school? My answer would be in direct relation to the face they make. So if I told them, I want to be an entertainer, they would be like, oh, that's weird. Like, if your dad didn't escape Vietnam for you to be an entertainer, and then straight away I'd be like, okay, I want to be an engineer. And they kind of just stuck with me all the time because I didn't want them to think any different. Yeah. And every time I said engineer or lawyer, they'll be, oh, that's really good, And then they'll say to my dad, you got a good son. And it's like, just because I say one thing doesn't make me want to actually do it.
Yeah. So do you belong to that family, that Vietnamese family that wants a son to be a priest, one in law and then one in the army? Or?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's why my dad had another 2 kids.
All right, so what happened? So you went to uni and studied...
Communications.
Okay.
Yeah. So I studied that at Western Sydney University at the Penrith campus. And for a year, I was just going there and I didn't know what I was really looking at or studying. It got to a point where it was compulsory for us to go to the tutorials and I just didn't go. I'm just like, I don't even know what I'm doing. And I felt like I was just wasting the HECS debt.
Yep.
Just making it more and more and more to the point where I told myself, would I rather just spend 30 grand on investing in myself as opposed to 30 grand on a uni debt that isn't really going to get me anywhere. Because now I know people who finish their degrees and they're still struggling to find a job. So,
I feel it sometimes, university, if for some people, it's actually killing some of their ability, dwarfing a little bit of their creative thinking.
Exactly,
It pushed them into thinking as if life is just one way, one direction, Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So you quit uni?
Yeah, I quit uni.
And what did you do then?
Well, I didn't really know what I was doing. I mean, at the time I was just going out. Like I told you, I could finish high school. So all my friends were partying and, I just wanted to join the bandwagon. And then it got to a point where every time they went out, obviously it cost money. Yeah. And I didn't have money at the time. I was just going out kind of freeloading off people. And I asked myself, is this really what I want to do for the next couple of years? Well, actually, it's funny. It's my sister that sat me down and she's like, what are you doing? You left uni, you're just going out, you're not helping out the family or anything. She sat down, she started crying. And I think at that point, that's when I'm like, okay, I got to make a change. Otherwise, I'm just going to be like every other person that didn't really create anything in their life.
So it was your sister that made that change for you?
Yeah, my sister sat me down and she just spoke to me heart to heart. And as soon as I saw her crying, like it just really got to me.
So how long after you quit? Because obviously, when you left, what did you do? Did you go and work somewhere? Did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't work at all. I was just like I left uni when I was 19.
Right.
Yeah, and then during that time, like I said, I was just partying. And then I think when I was around 20, that's when my sister sat me down and said, "You got to do something." And after that, I started working at a Asian restaurant.
Right.
And I was making like $9 an hour.
Yes.
Working like a dog.
Yep.
But at that time, I didn't have anything else, so I just kept doing that for about 6 months, and then I moved to a different Asian restaurant, one that's a bit more with a younger crowd. And from there, that's where I kind of learned a lot about work ethic from the guy who owned the place. So I got really close to the guy. His name's Jay, and he's played a pretty significant part in my life as well.
Right.
So him and his wife, actually, Sue, they taught me a lot about, working hard, and they were like the older brother, older sister that I never really had. Obviously I had an older sister, but she didn't really know about working or anything. So owning her business. So the guy Jay, he was like to me around a year later, because I was working there for about 2 years.
Yes.
A year later, he said to me, what do you want to do with your life? What do you enjoy doing? And I've always been the type that was into sports. Even in school, like basketball was basically my whole life. And it got to a point with basketball where I stopped getting taller, so I didn't get any better anymore.
Right.
And the passion was still there. Even though I wasn't competing, the passion was there because I enjoyed helping others get better. So I was always leading the team, training them and everything. And I told Jay, I'm like, I enjoy training. And he said, why don't you go do your diploma in fitness, or your Cert 3, Cert 4 in fitness? And I said, you know what, I will do it. So about a month later, I registered or enrolled into the Australian Institute of Fitness, which, by the way, goes for like a 2-month course, and they expect you to learn 3 years worth of work in 2 months.
Right.
So you're basically, it's one of those things where you just pay for a certificate.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to do your own research if you wanted to stay ahead of the game, which I did. And then while I was doing the college, the diploma actually, I met one of the guys through basketball, and he was working at a gym called Fitness Studios at the time.
Yes.
And he was like, once you get your Cert 3, Cert 4, I'll hook you up with a job. And he did, he got me working at Fitness Studios, and I was just working there as like a gym floor staff. So not a personal trainer. So personal trainers, they got to pay rent, they got to do all that stuff. I was just working like below that, just so I can learn the ins and outs of working in the gym and everything. But what I learned was a lot of the PTs there, a lot of the personal trainers there, they were struggling because they were kind of isolated to just the gym. They were taught if you get your Cert 3, Cert 4, you become a personal trainer, then you're gonna earn all this money, big money. So when I really asked the personal trainers, like, how much do you guys actually make? I know it's really confidential stuff, but they were honest. They said, 1 week I'll make $200, 1 week I'll make $600. But then I'm like, what about rent? And they said, yeah, so the rent will take most of the paycheck. So I said to myself, I'm like, why don't you go out to like boot camps or open other things like studios and stuff? They said they don't want to take that risk. And I'm like, well, you're slowly dying, just paying rent to rent constantly.
Yep. You're going a bit fast for me, right? So can I just ask you something here? You sat down with your sister. I mean, I couldn't even imagine myself at the age of 19 even listening to my own father, let alone my sister. So there has to be something that she said, or there has to be something in you that decided enough is enough. Or did you get rid of that partying business at the age of 19? Or
it's quite personal actually. The reason why it got to me was because in that same year I was partying quite a bit, and I actually OD'd.
Right.
Yeah. And from that, I think my sister was with me the whole way. This is when I was 19.
Right. So you OD'd what, in a nightclub, outside?
Yeah, at a party.
Yeah.
At a party, yeah. Like after that, she just sat me down. She's like, if you're gonna keep going the way you're going, you know, what's your life going to be? I mean,
Okay, so here it is. So that is a defining moment for you.
Yeah.
Do you want to take us through? I mean, I'd love to hear that because I think that someone's life usually just goes through the normal process.
Yeah.
But then everyone who actually have achieved great things, they have that defining moment. And
it's not something I'm proud of. But yeah, like I was at a party and the next morning I woke up in hospital.
Right.
Yeah. And during that moment, I was like, what am I doing here? Like, you know, it didn't even occur to me that something happened that night. I was just like, holy crap, what am I going to say to my dad? You know, so that was the scariest bit. Not the hospital, medical bills or anything.
Not the fact I'm dying.
Not the fact that I nearly died. It's what is my dad going to say to me? Or what am I going to say to my dad? Yeah. Yep. So my sister was sitting at the room with me at the time, and she was just crying, and I was like, this must have done something real bad. And she didn't talk to me the whole way. So when we got home, you know, my dad's like, oh, what are you doing? Like, where were you last night? And I was like, I was just at a party. Like my sister didn't even tell my dad, you know, my sister just kept quiet about it. And she's like, don't tell him, you know, like he's going through some stuff at the moment. So we'll just keep it between us two. And that day actually, that's when I was in my room, I was kind of recovering, and she sat me down, and she's like, Huy, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. You know, are you just going to continue this?
I get it.
This partying life? And yeah, I just thought to myself, the things she said was all right. You know, she said, if you just keep doing if you keep partying the way you're partying, like you're going to have a really short life that no one's going to remember. And yeah, that's when I said to myself, all right, I'm going to do something about it. Yeah.
Okay. How much older is she?
She's 2 years older than me.
Wow, very wise person. And
yeah,
21.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the defining moment. That defining moment did not push you into the gym, right?
No, it didn't.
The gym was really something that you found out after 2 years of working in a restaurant and finding out that it's a shit work.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, it's taught me heaps about the face value of money, okay? So for example, I was working for $9 an hour or whatever, but I was working like a dog, right? And I was like, you know what, I can't do this forever, obviously. And from that, I moved on to another restaurant. And the funny thing is that restaurant taught me so much more, and it's taught me a lot more about anything than anything I've ever worked in.
That was when you worked around Jay and Sue.
Jay and Sue, yeah.
Right, okay.
Yep, Jay and Sue. Mm-hmm. So they taught me heaps. They taught me that you work hard now, so you're going to work hard later. And
were they family friends? Or
no, they weren't family friends. They were just literally people I met there.
Wow.
And they treated me like almost like a son, if anything. Yeah. And you can just tell these guys are genuine people. You know, they genuinely care about you and everything. So like my story is like everything happens for a reason, and I'll tell you why as well. Like we were working together, and that day, one of the nights, Jay said to me, you know, we should go try something called CrossFit. Because he knew I was into training and everything.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I was like, yeah, sounds pretty gay. And on that same night, someone walked into the doors of Tall Spices, which is the restaurant I was working at, with a CrossFit shirt on. And I was like to Jay, I'm like, hey, it's that CrossFit thing you were talking about. Let's go talk to him. And the person that was wearing that CrossFit shirt was a man named Bradley. Okay, so Bradley used to own CrossFit Never Quit, which is the one that I'm owning now.
Yeah.
Right. So he was like to me, yeah, you know, you should come try out CrossFit, blah, blah, blah. You know, we'll give you discounts. Never gave us discounts, by the way. Yeah. So the following week we went there to check it out. And from that, we just kept going. You know, I just changed my whole training program to just CrossFit.
So Jay took the time out and really went to those sessions with you for a while?
Yeah. So we both went. He picked me up from my house, and then we just went straight there. Yeah, every day we went there. I think at least 4 times a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seems like a nice man.
Yeah, he's
like
cool.
Most people will work with you in the restaurant. They're the boss, and after work they go, "See you, mate. You've got your own life. I've got my own life." He's was he around your age, or what's happened?
Oh man, I think he's like 40 now. But when I was 19, he would have been like 30, early 30s.
Wow, that's another. Yeah. But it seems to me like I don't know, but your path has got quite a few angels. You got your sister, now then you have the Jay and Sue, right? It's then suddenly like you get into Bradley.
Yeah. Right. Well, and another thing is like the guy who got me into working at fitness studios, because I was working 3 jobs at the time.
3 jobs?
3 jobs, yeah.
So what?
I was working at 12 Spices.
Yeah.
I was working at fitness studios.
Yep.
And I was working for the guy who got me into fitness studios. So he was running his own little boot camp at the time.
Right.
So I was the main instructor for the boot camp. So that was 4 days a week at night. And then I would work at fitness studios in the morning.
And that wasn't Bradley because he had CrossFit Never Quit,
He had
right?
CrossFit Never Quit, yeah.
Okay.
And then I was working at 12 Spices on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So
Wow.
basically 7 days straight. It was just like bang, 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 bang. Because I needed to like save up enough money because I wanted to obviously open something one day.
Okay, all right. So this is another moment.
Yeah.
So what made you decide you wanted your own show?
All right. So when I was working at fitness studios, this is where I met my fiance now.
Right.
Okay, so she was a receptionist at the time.
What's her name?
Shayla.
Yep.
Shayla, yeah. So she was the receptionist at the time, and we basically started dating a year later.
Yep.
And I kind of wanted to show her that what I'm doing now is going to be for something bigger and better, because she's someone that you would never think that I would be dating. I would never be thinking I would be dating. You know, like if you see her, she's tall, she's white, and she's Muslim. Not that that makes any difference, but I went against. I feel like I went against everything the Vietnamese man was meant to do.
Yeah, well, just emulating your dad, man.
That's true, actually. Yeah. I kind of wanted to prove to her that I'm not just some average dude.
Yeah.
So the fact that I wanted to prove her, I wanted to prove myself worthy as well. And when I was working at fitness studios at the time, Brad knew that I was working. Bradley, so he knew that I was working at fitness studios and I was working at the boot camp as well. And then he approached me. He said, would you ever want to coach CrossFit? And CrossFit is a very technical training program. Okay, so a lot of people tend to get injured because of the coach. So I didn't want to put myself in that position. And eventually, you know what? If I'm not going to do this, if I'm not going to put myself in this position, I'm never going to see how successful or how much potential I actually have. So I said to him, you know what, let's do it.
What was it about how to be how successful you could be, or was it that make sure that Sheila?
It was kind of both, eh? It was kind of both. Yeah. I ended up coaching CrossFit once a week. Okay, so then I was balancing 4 jobs, but it was all flexible enough so I could basically do 7 days a week.
So by this time now, there's no more time for drinking,
No.
Okay.
That was it. That was it. No more partying, no more drinking, anything.
Right.
Eventually, once a week became twice a week. And during this time, Bradley was going through a bit of a rough patch with his life as well. And one of the months, he just spoke to me. He said, you know what, I have to go on this holiday. I have to go to overseas for just a month. And for a 21-year-old kid, now I've got to take over the whole gym for a month. And it was that moment I said to myself, I could either not do this and forget the chance of ever trying something for myself, or I can put myself in the deep end, throw myself in the deep end, and if it works out, I know that I'm good enough to run my own show. Mm-hmm. So for that month, I was doing everything, the books, the coaching, the classes, the member retention and everything. So that was all me for that month. The gym didn't burn down, so it was all right.
But so it actually was a key moment because you suddenly now realize, hold on, I'm doing all of these things.
Yeah.
The only thing that's missing is my name.
Pretty much.
Right.
Pretty much. So when he came back and he said, you know what, you actually did a pretty good job. And I said to myself, I'm like, maybe I should bring up a conversation with him, what is it that he actually wants, or what is he going to do with Never Quit? And we both sat down one day, and he was just like to me, he does feel like he wants to sell. This conversation was going on for months, back and forth, mm-hmm. to the point where I'm like to him, right, I have the money. Do you want to make the trade? And like I said, he was going through some unfortunate events in his life, and he said, you know what, let's do it then. Mm-hmm. So at the end of 2015, that was probably when it all happened. Yeah. But during that time, I was obviously telling my uncles and aunties, because they're all accountants and lawyers and everything, and I said to them, this is what I want to do. I got 3 different uncles to evaluate the gym to see if it was, good enough for, it was profitable enough for me to buy it. And they all said, nah, within a heartbeat, just nah, don't get it. And I said to them, why? And they said, look at the numbers, it's not making any money, blah, blah, blah. And I said, but the thing about the gym is it's not about the commodities of that business, it's about the person who brings the people in. So you can see that Bradley at the time, he kind of lost a bit of the passion for it. I mean, he's a great coach, by all means, a great coach, but he lost the passion a little bit. And that's due to his unfortunate events with his, him and his partner. So, I said to myself, I'm still young, I want to learn, I want to win as well. So, what if I can change it? And they said, it's a really big risk, massive risk. And you're going to put yourself in a lot of debt if you don't do well with it. And I said, look, I'm already putting myself in debt and I don't even get to take a risk with uni. So, what do you want me to do? This is what I want to do.
Yeah, may I ask you, so at that time, so you're 21, what kind of amount what were we talking about to buy the gym?
Well, to buy the gym, we were negotiating and it was around 80 grand.
Oh.
Yeah, 80 grand at the time. My mum helped me out.
That's mainly the equipment.
Yeah, that's mainly the equipment, obviously the business name and the
clientele,
the goodwill of the clientele. I bought the...
That's big ticket for a 21-year-old. I mean, I know that a lot of 21-year-olds, especially the Vietnamese, they usually put 80,000 in sound system in their car. So that's
true,
that's
actually,
a big risky thing just to put in your own business. That's crazy.
Yeah, well, like in Vietnamese culture, we have something called heel or no heel. What's that thing that you play when people gotta pay money? Huy, that's it. Huy. Yeah. And I was doing that for about a year and a half. Every month I'd put in this amount, and by the end of it, I'll be able to pull out, say, 20 grand.
Yep.
Right. And from that, I also had another, say, 15 grand saved up just from working 7 days a week and not seeing the sun or anything. And then my mum was the only person who really said, you know what, if this is what you want to do, you should do it. And she was living in Vietnam at the time. So she wasn't really there, but she was always there when we needed her to be.
Right.
So she always had money saved up, whether it was for me and my sister, she had, this amount and this amount for me. So that was for our future house. So she always had like a deposit for our house ready for us. I'm pretty sure it was my dad's money, but whatever. So she said, if you want to use this for your business, you can use it for your business. Yeah,
so but you also saved and did some business decisions for yourself.
Yeah.
Now, can I just go back to now, still that same period? You still have friends?
Yeah, I still had friends, yeah.
Didn't you have friends saying to you, come on, Huy, come out, man, with us, let's go party, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're too serious, not at your age.
I think when they asked me, I was also working at Tall Spice at the time, and I didn't want to disappoint Jay. Like, I didn't want to say, oh, Jay, I can't work tonight, I got to go out with my mates. Like, I think if he's working and he's the owner of the business, I'm telling him, no, I gotta go out because, I want to go hang with my friends to drink and party or whatever. I just felt like I didn't want to disappoint him because he's been such a good mentor to me, and for me to just leave to go drink with my friends that, they're not really going to bring any significance to me anyways. So that was like, obviously I would still go out with them like maybe once every while, but every weekend my friends would just constantly call me, and that's when I stopped saying yes, they stopped calling me slowly. Yeah. And you know what, like a lot of people will think, oh, your friends would probably think that, you're not a good friend anymore, but they do respect the choice that I make because they can see that I'm actually trying to do something.
Okay, so at the age of 21 in 2015, now you buy this business. Tell me, how was the beginning?
It was pretty scary. Obviously, it was exciting because I'm 21, owning a business. I feel entitled. I feel like I'm king of the world, blah blah blah. Until you realize that you basically just own a job. Yeah. But obviously, when I took over it, everyone was excited. Everyone was happy for me on Facebook. But the people that I wanted to be happy, they weren't really happy. Like mainly my dad or my grandma.
Why one day?
Well, I think when I told my dad that I dropped out of uni to pursue this, he was already annoyed. Like he was already like, why would you give up such a good opportunity to get a degree, to get a good job, to then own a gym or work in a gym? You know, so like I didn't really have an answer for that. You know, I want to let my actions answer it eventually, hopefully. Same thing with my grandma. My grandma's like, you know, like what, don't you need something to fall back on?
Yeah.
And they don't understand, but what if I don't fall?
Yeah.
So yeah, that was.
The problem is this, being some people, they have the model of the world, the way that they see life being constructed, and it's about going through school, getting good marks, and then getting a degree. And
Yeah.
And so when they see someone probably a bit extravagant and going out there and doing CrossFit,
Yeah.
they're going, what are we talking about? It's a little bit like lately I just heard that some of these kids that I used to tell off back in a few years ago about playing computer and PlayStation, apparently these days they paid millions just to compete. So there's no bad thing. It's the thing that you have to love. And somehow in our culture, some of our parents, they have a difficulty seeing our drive or our passion for a goal. They are more interested in the security that we're going to be okay.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think that's the two models fighting each other, isn't it? Okay.
Yep.
So you persevered with the business, even though you knew that you had your father and your grandmother a bit unhappy.
Yeah.
Now, can you just tell me like some of the biggest maybe challenges you had with the gym?
The biggest challenge I had with the gym was probably when I realized that I started there as a member and then I became the owner.
Yeah.
You know, that was the biggest challenge because when I started, when people started to find out that I was the owner now, they were just saying, you know, what does this 21-year-old know about running a business? You know, like he's still young, he doesn't really know much about anything. And I just felt like I always had to prove to them that I am like a good enough coach.
Yep.
And it went for ages, and I just tried to make everyone happy, and I put everyone's happiness before mine. And I think that's what made me burn out really quickly as well, especially coming in. And a lot of the members at that time were a little bit older. It's hard. I can understand where they're coming from. They're probably thinking, you know, why would I listen to someone that can be my son in CrossFit, in training? So that was probably one of the biggest obstacles that I found. And
did you lose a bit of that clientele?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, and
so how did you replenish that? Because there's a bottom line, there's certain numbers that you need.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I thought to myself, you know, is this my fault? You know, did I do a bad move? But then when I think about it, like whenever I used to go to job interviews, they would always say, you know, you need experience. Like, what if I have that X factor that this person that's been working for 20 years doesn't have? I mean, just because you work for 20 years or you have 20 years experience doesn't mean anything. It just means you've been doing the same thing for 20 years. You know what I mean? But if someone can come in who's young, who's, you know, fresh and ready to learn, you know, wouldn't you try someone like that as opposed to someone who's done the same thing for 20 years? Once I kind of understood that, I just said, you know what, if those are the people who are leaving because of that reason, I don't really want them here in the first place.
Yep.
And once I kind of let go of that, that's when I slowly started building my way up to the culture that I wanted to create at the gym and the community I wanted at the gym as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
The first thing I wanted to ask you, so how did you replenish the numbers? Because as they were leaving, we needed to get that numbers back up.
Yep.
Yeah?
So as they were leaving, I started to do a lot of my research on like Facebook marketing, social media marketing, and I was always on my phone on Instagram, so I might as well start doing it for the gym. So I started pumping that out. I started using a lot of the photography to get people in, and I think honestly it was just word of mouth. Because for me, I was doing all the classes myself, and whether there was one person in the class or 12 people in the class, same attention was given to them. And as I was serving, I didn't really have to sell anymore, because before I was just cold calling a lot of people, you know, trying to get people in. And the thing is, the more I gave attention and service to the people that were already there, that enjoyed being there, they started telling people and they started telling their friends, and more people started coming in exactly like them. So I started having a better culture and a better community with the ideal members. Yeah. Okay.
Now, you also mentioned that you had burnout, and burnout is, from what I understand, you were running after a goal that was meaningless.
Yes.
Trying to hold on to people who were looking for a reason to leave was meaningless, because the more you put in,
exactly,
the more they were going to go anyway, right?
Yep.
And so the minute that you relinquish that, the burnout disappeared.
Yeah.
Is it burnout or is it almost like frustration bordering now?
It was like,
level?
look, I was young at the time, and because I had all the power to control the financials, when people were leaving, I would be like, hey, you know, instead of leaving, why don't I just give you a discount? So I was giving these guys discounts as well.
Yes.
And these people were saying, all right, I'll stay because of the discount, okay? And the thing is, these people were, I'm not saying anything bad, but it's kind of like having toxic in the gym.
Yes.
You know, I felt like every time I would coach, I felt like I was walking on eggshells. And
Yes.
if I'm the owner of the business, and if I feel like that in my own business, like what am I doing?
Yeah.
So
is that the burnout you're talking about? It almost like the worry of doing the wrong thing by guys that really you're allowed to be there for free.
Pretty much. Okay. Pretty much. Yeah.
So the defining moment again has to happen. There has to be that defining moment when you go, enough is enough. What was that? What can you recall that one single experience that happened? Maybe there has to be that one guy or a woman that just pushed you too far.
There was. Don't really want to name any names, but
no, we don't need names.
Yeah. But there was one person that she kind of just, because she was there even before I was a member there, and she feels like because she's there, she's been supporting me. But the flip side is she felt like she was entitled to say whatever she wanted to say. You know, sometimes she'll say things that either makes a new person feel like they're not good enough, or you know, like in the gym, there'll always be that one spot that she wants. Okay, like that's her spot, and if someone goes there, she'll be like, you know, it's my spot.
Yeah.
And she will say some things like, oh, you know, she doesn't say it to me, but she'll say it to other people, and she'll say it behind my back as well. I think once I found out about it, it's like, you know, I'm giving her these discounts, you know, I'm allowing her to do whatever she wants, and she still has the nerve to say something behind my back. Yeah, I just said to her, you know, if you don't like what I'm doing, you're more than welcome to leave now. Okay, and after that, I knew that my coaching was getting better at the time, so I knew my service was getting better, and I said to myself, you know what, I want to make a change in terms of not just prices, but once I change the prices around, the people that will come in, they're coming in for my service, my new services now.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to drop my prices anymore. This is the price, and if you come in, if you don't like it, you can move on. Okay. And luckily, I was at a point where it was growing at the same time, and all the people that were talking, you know, bad about me, they slowly started leaving. Okay, so as they were leaving, it kind of felt good. Like it was kind of like a new door that opened, and you know, all the people that came in, even to this day, they're the people that have stayed. And you know, they've said nothing but good things about us. So it was at that moment that one person, and thankfully she did that to me. Yep. Otherwise, I would still be.
She pushed you too far.
Otherwise, I'd still be doing what I'm doing now. You know, giving out discounts. You know, putting everyone first. So yeah, that was. I think that was.
There was one thing I forgot though, is that as you bought the business, you kept on training yourself, learning, and improving yourself. Yep. You didn't rely on, now I've got a business, I've paid 80 grand for it now, well, you know, the business is going to have to do it for me. You actually invested in you.
Yeah.
And so you made yourself being the main commodity, not the gym.
Yeah. Well, I just told myself, I'm like, you know, a lot of people, when they, you know, start a business or buy a business, they want to win now. Yeah. Okay? And that's cool and all, but I think for me personally, I love to win, but I also love playing the game. You know, so for me, I want to be in it for the long race, and I know that if I'm in it for the long race, I'll eventually win because people start dropping off. Yep. Okay, so I said to myself, you know what, I'm just going to invest in myself as much as I can, and it will pay off eventually. Not now, not next week, but it will eventually pay off because I'm constantly trying to grow me, and I am the business. So if I'm growing myself, I'm also growing the business.
Yep, very nice.
Yeah.
You talked a few times now about culture and community. So what is the culture that you have in your business? So what's the name of your business?
CrossFit Never Quit.
Oh, so yeah, okay. Well, so you never change it.
I never changed it. I kept it the same. I just like.
You never change it to CrossFit Huy Never Quit.
I'll have too many Asians coming.
All right, so what is the culture you have there?
The culture we have there is, you know, everyone, even though they're there as individuals and they have their own individual goals, we all share the same vision, and that's to allow people to reach their own goals. And when you do it by yourself, it's really hard, but if you come in to our doors, not only do you have the training program and the facility, but you also have that 1 hour where you can just socialize with people, asking about their day. And I think for me personally, yes, as much as I want to create a training program, I also want to have improvement in mental health.
Yep.
Okay, so when they come in, they talk to others, and once you get to know that person, if you want to train the next day, you kind of ask that person, hey, are you training tomorrow? And then that whole accountability thing happens as well.
Right.
So I think one of the defining moments for culture, like for me to actually represent the word culture, was about 2 months ago, we ran a competition. And this competition had over about 400 people come from all across New South Wales.
Wow.
And this was my first ever competition over the 4 years of running the gym.
That's not bad.
And we had 50 volunteers from our gym. And, I didn't, obviously I said, if anyone would like to help, please put your name down. And I only had 10 slots at the time. And we had to print out another piece of paper because people just said, if you want anything, we'll come help you guys, blah, 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 blah. So we had 50 people help out, and that's a lot of people to give up their day, their whole day, to help out, our brand. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was a pretty big moment for me as well. I think this year it had a lot of milestones for me this year.
Yeah, but you find it like that in a lot of businesses, for quite a while you see no change. Yeah. And then suddenly it goes, it's a little bit like, to me, building businesses, it's a bit like boiling a bit of milk.
Yeah, you're right, actually.
For quite a while, you see nothing. Yeah. And you keep on investing on yourself, investing in gym equipment. Yep. And you feel like, all we're doing is opening the show and keeping it open. Exactly. And then all of a sudden, it just explodes.
That's right. Yeah, so this is my 4th year now, and the first 2 years, I didn't see anything happen. But I also realized I didn't really do much as well, and it wasn't until last year and this year where I started to see the growth, not only for, the memberships, but the gym itself, changing the brand, changing the logo, and just seeing a lot of things happen, like the competition, the launch of my other business. Yep. It all happened because I was in it for the long race, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So where's the gym?
The gym's in Prestons.
Are you looking at opening a new one?
You know what? For a while, I used to think, yes, I do want to open another one. But personally, for now, I want to maximize the potential of this current location. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons why our CrossFit gym does so well is because we're in a smaller location. And because we're in a small location, the person in one corner is still relatively close to the other person in the other corner. The connection is still there. Here's people always ask, why don't you expand to a bigger facility? And the thing is, once you open a really big facility, the connection is kind of lost. If you're in a smaller area, you're obligated to kind of see the other person. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd rather have more classes in one facility and have, 200 people or 220 people at one facility, as opposed to a really big facility and have, maybe 50 people.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. So, do you run all the classes by yourself?
No, I don't run all the classes myself now. I have 2 other coaches working with me as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm there, but I only coach maybe about 7 classes now, as opposed to...
you charge them more. Yeah. Like the people who want to do it for you.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It's payback time for all the...
Yeah.
So now I can see it. I actually was asking a silly questions because obviously if you're opening a new business, I guess I'm gonna have to ask you now, what is it? What is that defining moment again that push you, instead of going for an expansion, is now you're going into this new business? So what is this new business venture you're looking at?
This new business is it's an apparel company. So it's called NVQT, like I see in my shirt.
Yeah, I see it.
And it's pretty much short for Never Quit Apparel. And basically it's taking Never Quit from a facility to now a representation of a lifestyle. Okay, so it's not just training programs, it's not just facility, it's something you can wear and you can really define your attitude of never quitting.
Right.
So I always love the whole culture of clothing and everything. I was always into the next big style, the next big culture of clothing. So you know what I'm saying, if I have all this time during the day, because we have classes in the morning and we have classes at night.
Yeah.
And then during the day, it's kind of like, an hour of paperwork or an hour of advertising, and I have all this time during the day to do something else. But I want to do something that's relative to the business as well.
Yeah.
Something that also can't really fail. I mean, if I have this other business, even if it doesn't do well, I still have nice clothes for the gym.
Yep.
So I just tried this out, and I bought my own printer, heat press, and software to make shirts.
Yep.
Because I used to go around to all these printing companies, and I asked them, how much is it to print shirts? And they said, it's going to cost you X amount, plus every new design is like a $60 setup fee.
Yep.
And I said, so if I have, say, 7 different designs, that's $420 just for the setup fee. And they said, yeah. But then the thing is, like, this printing machine only costs $400. So if I buy this printing machine, I can make as unlimited designs as I can, and it's not going to cost me a thing. It actually makes me money on top of it. So I bought that machine. I kind of just YouTubed everything, how to set it up, how to print my own shirts, and I started printing my own shirts. I started buying blank shirts, and I started doing it for the gym. And that's pretty much how it started.
So what's the product you have for the moment? Just a t-shirt?
When I first started, I only had t-shirts and singlets.
Yep.
And it sold out. I started getting hoodies in, sold out, and I'm like, you know what, this is pretty good. And this is only to the gym of 120 people. And I started saying, let's try and let's go to the other market. Let's go outside, the people who haven't been at Never Quit before. So I started putting it up on Instagram and all that stuff. And people said, this is actually nice clothing. Mm-mm. And I started printing it for that as well. And I said, we're getting pretty big now. Like we can't just do 100 shirts a week by myself, because I was staying up, like it's a pretty long process, but you got to peel out all the vinyl, then you got to put it on, you got to press it and all that stuff. And like, it's okay to do 20 shirts, but if people asking for 100 or something shirts, then I would have to do something else. So the funny thing is, I told my mom about it, and my mom said, so how much are you getting these shirts for? And I said, Mom, you wouldn't believe me, but I'm selling it for $35 and I'm getting it for $20. And she said, so you're only making $15? And I said, yeah, but $15 I can't make anywhere else. And she said to me, I live in Vietnam, right? And I'm like, what do you mean? She said, I can make you all these in Vietnam if you just give me that one sample, and I can make it for you, and it'll be a fraction of the price and you'll get more money from it. So I said to myself, why didn't I think of this ages ago? So I started,
because we don't know everything.
We don't know everything, yeah.
Right, your head is about gym and how to make people pump and do CrossFit better, right?
Yeah, so she said to me, just what you do is just print off whatever you want, exactly like how you want it.
Yep.
Send it over to her in Vietnam, and then she'll just make it for me.
So the special thing about your gear, because I can see it here, is it all of your gear, it's all about NVQT, or do you have slogan? Do you have never quit on that?
Our slogan, we didn't really use too much of the actual word never quit, because we're still trying to get it through our trademarking and copyright and everything.
Right.
So we're just using NVQT at the moment, and it's got a pretty good ring to it. So our slogan is wear your attitude. Wear your attitude.
Oh, wear your attitude. I like that. Yes, I like that.
Yeah. Okay. So after that, my mum started making these shirts for me, and she brought it over here, and I just pretty much sold it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, man, I better find out about this stuff. But do you have like extra large? So, where from here?
Man, from here it's been a pretty big year so far, but obviously the next thing for me would be getting the current gym now to full potential, so I can kind of justify saying, all right, if the system is working, I can bring the system over somewhere else. But right now I'm still trying to sort out the systems and everything, and it's still growing by the minute. So every year we've increased the memberships.
So where are we at? If 100% where you want it to be, where are we at now?
I think we're still at about 75%.
Okay.
We still have about 25% more to grow, but yeah, that's for the gym side. In terms of the clothing side, we want to just keep doing what we're doing. The next 2 years will just be about constant collections. So every season, you got to put out another collection.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't know that. I just said, you know what, I'll just put out one every like 6 months. And then one of the girls who works with me, she said, so you're not going to bring one out for winter or summer? And I'm like, I didn't know you had to. So yeah, we're going to try and bring at least 4 out per year. The one thing that I learned from this whole business for the clothing was that don't be too much of a tight ass.
Yeah.
You know, so the one thing the mistake that I made that cost me a couple of $1,000s was I tried to save too much money per unit, and it was good because I got a pretty good price for it, but now I have too much dead stock. Okay, so all my stock's upstairs. We have 2 levels for the gym, so downstairs is the gym. Upstairs, I've renovated it so that I have 1 room for storage, 1 room for our physio nutritionists, and I get rent from that as well, and then another room for myself. So right now we have a lot of dead stock, and that's purely because I tried to save too much money on buying. Instead of buying, say, 100 units, I bought, say, 500 shirts.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next time I do it, I'll try to just order less, even though I got to pay more. But at least if I sell that or I sell out of that, I know that that's the profitable item, and I can just reorder it.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, you learn from it. Not
Well,
really.
some people like spend thousands of dollars in Hex and don't get anything out of it.
That's right. Yeah.
But you paid a fraction, right, to have an amazing business lesson. So Huy, that's a God-given thing.
Yeah.
Now, I want to also ask you about what if someone came to you now and said, I can see the clothing business is going very, very well. I just want to take over CrossFit. Would you sell it?
That's a question, eh? To be honest, I probably wouldn't sell it. I think sometimes you have to think about, you know, what got you here in the first place. And I'm still 26 years old, and I still have a lot to give to the gym. And, you know, I still wake up and I still think, you know, I'm lucky to be in this position right now. And if I'm still feeling like this, that means I still enjoy being there. You know, it's when I wake up and I think, fuck, you know, I got to go to work now.
Yeah.
That's when you know that, you know, you're probably not in it anymore.
Okay. One of the things that I didn't speak about is Shayla and her support for you, because she's been around you for, what is it now, 4 or 5 years?
6 years.
Oh, 6 years.
Soon to be 6 years, yeah.
Be careful about what you say there.
You can cut this out, yeah. Yeah, so yeah, we dated for about 5.5 years until, like I always told myself that this was the girl that I'm gonna marry. You know, as soon as I met her. She just always wanted to push me to do better.
Yes.
And you know, she's 2 years older than me, a year and a half older than me. So she's always like that one step closer to marriage and everything. So, you know, it's funny. She'll always send me these photos saying, oh, you know, my cousin just got married, or my friend just got married. Yep. And I'm like, you know what, I do want to get married, but I just want to set myself up first, just so that I can financially say, yeah, I'm ready to get married. As opposed to there's people that they just get married and they don't have anything. Mm-hmm. And that's cool and all, but I wanted to set myself up first and then say, all right, if you're going to be with me every step of the way, I know you're going to be the right person. Okay, so the fact that I bought the gym and I started the whole clothing company, she was supportive all the way. And now that it is making a bit of money, I wanted to return it to her as well. So 2 months ago, we got engaged. From that, it's kind of like, all right, now, are you happy? We're married now. We're pretty much married. But we're also building a house together.
Yes.
We bought a piece of land, a block of land 2 years ago, and it's going to slowly start construction, I think, pretty soon. But
I'm sure that she's with you because of the amount of passion that you have in your blood. I can see it. But these days, I find that a lot of young people, and I say young because 26, I think you're still a baby. We do want that time together with our partner, but when they in the process of building their own business empire, there's a fight between the empire and time for ourselves. Do you have
definitely.
that? Do you find that it's a struggle there?
I don't think there's a struggle because we're both trying to build ourselves. She's working at a logistics company and she's almost at the top of her game. I mean, she's working closely with the branch managers. I'm sure she's slowly going to become a branch manager for her own location. So she's working, 6 days a week. So on the 7th day we have it together on the Sunday, we're pretty much just sleeping.
Yes.
So she's working pretty hard. So that and what I'm doing now, we both understand each other. You know, it would be different if she was just working, you know, a 9 to 5, come home and just be like, you know, are you done with work yet? Are you done with work yet? But, you know, she's working, you know, 7 till, you know, 5 or 7 as well. And she's getting home and she has to look after her own family too. I mean, she's got, her mum and dad are getting quite old. They own their own cafe. So when she gets home, she's cooking for them and everything. She's a pretty good catch.
Yeah. Now, I want to ask you something in closing here. What will be, because I can see it, your biggest defining moment is being a Vietnamese child who's being a young child, running with hormone levels that just push you into a lot of other things, going through that defining moment.
Yeah.
I prefer to call it the DM, if you will. So what would be 5 tips that you would share with a young person now who's maybe 18 or 19 or 20 and going through life a bit lost? Because I think there's a lot of that for the moment. And wanting a bit of that direction. What would be 5 things that you tell them?
I think the first one would be, it's okay to be lost. At the end of the day, I was lost from 13 all the way up until 21. So for that 9 years, I was still lost, you know, and...
Why is that?
Well, I didn't know what I was doing.
Okay.
You know, I say that I wasn't lost because, like I said, you know, every time my uncle asked me what I want to do, I said, I want to be an engineer, I want to be an engineer. So, it's okay to be lost. I mean, some people, they go through uni and they work 5 years in a job and they realize that this is not what they want to do. So they're still lost, really. You know, you never really find yourself. Yeah, that'll be the first one. Just it's okay to be lost. Second one would just be stay humble. Obviously, a lot of people will say, oh, you know, will talk very highly of themselves, blah blah blah. But I think you just got to stay humble as well. I mean, when I bought the business, you know, I wasn't really that humble. I said, I'm owning the business, blah blah blah. And like I said, it wasn't until 2 years later that I just realized I owned a job. And I just kind of let my actions talk for myself, as opposed to let my words talk. So that'll be the second one. Yep. The third one is be in it for the long race as well. Like, you don't have to win right away. Yeah, a lot of people, like I said before, they just want to win from day one. And I think if you have those small little wins, that's a lot better than constantly finding the big win. Set your goals high, but don't be afraid to celebrate those small little goals as well. Yep. Yeah.
And like you say, in the long race, you don't have to have things today.
No, you don't. Like, I still drive the same car that I did 3 years ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah, you're not the real Vietnamese then, mate.
Well, my first car was Integra.
Oh, yes, you are.
There you go. Yeah, so, just be on it for the long race. Number 4 would be meet as many people as possible.
Okay.
Like, I'm lucky that I'm at the gym now and I'm surrounded by all these people that, you know, some of them are CEOs, some of them are just normal workers, but, you know, because I know all these different people, I can adapt myself so easily as well. And networking for me is so easy. Like, I can talk to one person who's a CEO, I can talk to one person who's a lawyer, and, you know, they converse with me like they're a normal human being. I think once you allow a title to define you, that's when, you know, everything goes to bad, because you just separate yourself from these people.
Yeah,
you know?
And really, in your story, that's what you showed, is that you were at a very young age open to listening to Jay, Sue, and Bradley. So you were okay with being guided. And when you're telling the story, I can hear that your humility in listening to your mom about business, listening to that lady in your gym. So you're very much an open mind kind of person when it comes to getting feedback. That doesn't mean that you do everything they say, but you at least can get that information and make your own decision.
Yep.
So what will be another tip to that young 18 or 19 who's thinking, well, you know, school's not for me, my life, I don't even know what I want to do. I mean, how do we get there? How do we find that thing that is for us?
Yeah, I think just be okay to take the risk, okay, and accept that, yeah, you might fall, but you might not. You know, that's the biggest risk for people, is not doing something.
Right.
I think, like, if you're not doing anything, like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yep.
Okay, so if you do this, I would rather fail so many times doing something I love rather than not succeeding or not being successful at something I absolutely hate because I don't try. So yeah, that was just one of those things, man.
Okay. Well, Huy, that's been very inspiring. And if you're 26 and that's your real age, it makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
Because you're pretty driven and you've got passion in you. And I'd love one of these days maybe to talk a little bit about your passion and that one word that you used earlier, which is the X factor. And the fact that you run a business not really about selling people fitness, but really enjoying helping them reach their vision, their goal. I think that there's a lot in you still to come. Now, what's the address of your gym?
We are at Unit 27-9, Progress Circuit, Prestons.
Progress Circuit in Preston. Okay. Mate, I look forward to talking to you some more, right?
Yeah.
And maybe one of these days be fit enough to have an NVQT t-shirt.
I'll definitely bring one next time, man. Look, thank you for having me on your podcast.
Thanks so much for your time, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries.